Cass here from GiveWave Studios, and today I'm going to show you guys how to turn these pieces of foam and leather right here into this Wonder Woman van brace right here. Alright, let's get it. Alright guys, so one of the first things that we're going to do, probably the most complicated thing you'll do this entire build, is grab this piece here. Now, this is an optional piece, to be perfectly honest. So this is kind of like this little trim that shows up here. She has like a very subtle little lip at the bottom of the bracer that I've added there for you. You can also use this as a piece to either make the bracer longer if the length isn't right for you, or you can just use it as the lip as it is. So there's enough room for you to put it, you know, facing out all the way or a little bit in. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab a fresh X-Acto blade. Now you do want a fresh blade for this because you're doing some very fine cuts on this piece, and the sharper your blade, the easier this is gonna be for you. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna grab your X-Acto knife and you're gonna cut inside of this line. You're cutting to about halfway through the foam. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. Alright, so I've done my cut about halfway through, and I'll try to bring this up to the camera, see if you guys can see it. My cut's gone about halfway through the foam. Okay, so with that done, on this larger piece here, we're gonna cut this sideways now along this line, and we're going halfway through the foam on its thickness. Now on this part, you don't want to go too deep. Just do one pass at kind of like the width of this, almost your first pass, and then you can do more consecutive passes deeper and deeper, because you don't want to protrude out on the front of this here. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Alright, so now I can kind of lift it, pull it apart, see where I am, start the process over. So basically what you're trying to do at this point is you're trying to intersect that first cut that we did earlier, right? And if and when you do, this should peel up pretty easily. All right, so once you have this first half done, just kind of go deeper and deeper until you reach that first area that we cut earlier. All right, and you can just kind of peel away as you cut, peel away as you cut, peel away as you cut. Again, this is probably the most complex part of this build. It takes a little while, it takes a little time and patience. Again, this is an extra detail. You don't have to do this particularly, but if you want to have that extra little piece of detail there, I would suggest definitely just putting in the effort and going through this process and trying to get this piece out. All right. So I'm almost there. Just gonna keep doing a few more slices here and there, and I should reach the front of this piece eventually. Real close, real close. It's almost like surgery, but with foam. All right, and that's basically what we're trying to do, guys, is basically separate those two, and then we'll add this to it later once we've actually shaped this. What we're gonna do is heat our foam. Both sides. Okay. Once our foam is nice and toasty, we're gonna literally roll it up like a fruit roll up, right onto itself. roll it onto itself, and then just kind of push down on it and press. And unroll, and then roll now from the other side, like a fruit roll up. Roll it from the other side and press. And by the time you've rolled it twice, you've already got a nice shape to your bracer, three-dimensional shape. Okay? All right. So with that done, we're gonna start doing some more detailed stuff. So we're gonna grab this piece here, okay, and we're gonna put it on top of the bracer. Now mind you, once you've rolled this and you heat it, you're gonna notice that some of these pieces might not line up. That's pretty easy to fix. You just pull gently at the foam a little bit in whatever direction you need more length, and as soon as you put it down, now you'll notice that I have the exact length that I need. All right, the foam comes raw, so it does have a little bit of flex, a little bit of give, as far as that's concerned. And then what you guys are gonna do is on this piece here, you're gonna grab that and line it up against this V here where you want it. You're gonna go ahead and you can mark this first. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut it, but you can mark then cut if you're not comfortable just cutting it up front. Again, sharp blade. I'm gonna go ahead and go through this one time and go through this side one time. All right, and basically you're gonna separate that V from everything else. And on here, again, you'll notice that this comes up a little short. Easy fix. Just pull at this a little bit. All right. And then line it up with the top corner here. And once you have that lined up, go ahead and wrap it around. See, now I have a little too much. And this is easy to fix. I can just trim this at the edge here. So once I have this wrapped around here and I'm looking at the corner, same thing that I did earlier, I'm gonna go ahead trim this piece right here. Again, you can mark this then cut it. You don't have to just cut it. I'm comfortable again in making my cuts. All right, and we're gonna do the same thing here and make that cut. Get rid of that, okay? And now that we have all of these parts done, basically what I'm going to do is grab my contact cement and I'm going to glue all these pieces into place. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through that process and catch you guys once this is done. I almost forgot one of the most important parts. One thing that a lot of cosplayers who do this fan brace forget to is this has an angle here, right? And in order to get that angle, this is what you guys need to do. So I kind of forgot to do this part and started assembling everything. So I took this off and I'm gonna show you guys how to do that piece. So moving forward, you might see some of the clips that have that. You might see some of the clips that don't. But at the end of the day, you wanna do this piece first before putting any of your trim parts. Make yourself a table edge, right? And then put your piece up against it. So what you guys would want to do is grab yourself a ruler, go from the inside of this piece where these two lines meet, draw yourself a line going over and crossing into these parts here. Now, what you're going to do is grab a sharp X-Acto blade. You're going to cut at an angle. So you're going to start in here. Right, and I'm gonna cut kind of like a 45-degree angle, drag my cut all the way down. Right. As you can see, I've made a split, but it's also an angled split. I don't know if you can tell. Let's focus. Right, the split is at an angle. So now I'm gonna keep this angle here, and I'm going to give myself the opposite angle. So same angle, just on the opposite side. All right, so I'm gonna grab this. That actually, I'm going to start this way. I'm going to start this way and drag this back to where I started. All the way. All right. So once you do this, you should come up with like a little pyramid shaped piece that you take out of that middle part. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to glue these two pieces together, and that's gonna give us that angle right there. All right, so I'm gonna grab some barge. All right, so my piece is dry. Now what I'm gonna do is, as flush as possible, I'm going to re-glue these two pieces. So I'm starting from my outer surface, my outer lines. I'm putting them back together as flush as possible. And then once I have my surface lined up, I'm gonna go ahead and press in that angle. Okie dokie. And now that I have that little bevel, now you can go ahead and add your trim lines. All right, so sorry about that. Quick little mishap, but I'm glad I caught it for the tutorial. So do this first and then do all of your detail pieces. All right, cool. Another thing you can do to add a little bit more dimensionality to your piece. So this is a scrap piece that I'm using to give you guys an idea of how this works. So you can go ahead and grab your X-Acto knife and do a couple of light cuts on your piece, like so. Okay, and then what happens is when you use the heat gun and you seal your foam, those cuts are gonna open up and they're gonna look like little gashes, you know, like battle marks and stuff like that. So you can definitely add that to your piece as much as you want, really, to weather it before you go into painting it at all. So make sure you have those gashes in there. So this is kind of an example of a mini set that I did that has like some of the scuff marks on there. All right. Now we have our piece assembled. We have our subtle trim showing on our piece nicely. And we're gonna do the same thing for this bottom piece right here. And put barge on the inside of my piece here, as well as the lip right here. And I've done the same thing for this piece, the inside and the inner lip here. Okay. Now, what this piece is, it ends up resting like at your wrist almost. So it gives you like a little bit more room to move your wrist around. Right. And so the way that you put this is, if you look at your bracer, there's one part that extrudes a lot and the other part that receives it. So the part with the two tabs, actually, right here is where you want to start. And you want to start from the short end of this piece. So short end of this piece where your slots start. Okay, so you're going to take your time and add this on. So you're lining up your lip first, making sure that those make contact, and then from the inside I'm pushing this onto the inside of the bracer after I've lined up the lip. Okay, because that is the most important part for this piece, is that lip. So got that going, attach those pieces first and then keep going with this lip. Alright, and there we have it. And whatever you have for excess, you can trim right off. Alright, we're basically done with the assembly of this piece. Now we're going to go ahead and take this to the paint booth and do some painting. So before we go into the paint booth, grab your heat gun and just do one more seal over everything. Make sure that everything is nice and prepped and ready to receive some plastic dip. Alright, we're in the paint booth. gonna go ahead and grab some plastic dip. I'm gonna do a couple of coats on this, let it dry, and then we're gonna go move on to the actual base coat of this silver that we'll be using. Alright, so we're in the booth. Our piece has been plastic dipped. Now I'm gonna grab some of this metallic primer. It's like a satin nickel from Rust-Oleum. Go ahead and spray this whole thing. Alright, fast forward and I'll see you guys in a bit. Right, now that we got our silver base down, we're gonna start painting and doing some details. Now I got some Liquitex black. I have some leftover Angelus. I don't even think this is Angelus paint anymore. I think I just mixed different blacks in here. But this is really watered down. If you guys can hear that, it's super liquid. I'm just gonna use that for a wash. And then I have the Bronze Pro color fill from Laser Bits that I'm gonna do the details on. I really like doing weathering with this. It really does give it like a really nice metallic look, and I'll leave links in the description. And I also have some rub and buff. All right, so I'm gonna get right into it. I got my brushes. I'm gonna start with my detailing first. I'm gonna grab my bronze, and I'm gonna go ahead and paint all of the bronze detail. All right, we got our part nice and painted. The really cool thing about the Laser Bits paint, it dries really fast, so I didn't really have to wait that much for me to be able to touch this and nothing come off of my hands or fingers. So now what I'm gonna do, like I said, I mixed a little bit of paint, acrylic paint, with some water. I have it in here, and what I'm gonna do is just use my brush, dip down in there, get it nice and wet, and literally I'm just gonna now dirty this up. All right, I'm gonna focus more on the edges, like these corners, the creases. Just gonna add paint to this general area, and then I'm going to wipe that paint off. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time to dry, so it seeps in a little bit and it shifts the color of the silver ever so slightly. How long you leave it really depends on how watered down your solution is. You can see mine, how it streaks. It's very watered down. Usually I wouldn't do that much. I'd make it a little thicker, but because I'm trying to do very subtle shadowing first on this first base layer, it's pretty watered down. As I need it to become more and more prominent, I'll use less and less water and just more paint. So again, quickly just going over certain areas, really focusing on the creases, not really going up on the gold areas just yet, just kind of focusing to this metal-y, silvery stuff. All right, looks pretty nasty, right? So now I'm just gonna grab tissue paper, kind of rub that in to that silver, and you'll notice that now it's giving us more of a weathered metallic look as opposed to this really shiny stuff here. And we're gonna go back and put highlights in these. So basically what we're doing now is creating our midtones. Go ahead, muddy that up. Whoop. Muddy that up. I'm not really wiping too hard. I'm trying to leave a lot of the paint and the creases, but just kind of spreading it out. Also, be careful with your fingers on this step. You can leave marks on it. And so once I have it nice and spread out, I'm gonna go ahead and focus on certain areas and try to take out a little bit more to bring back some of the highlights. Like so. All right, I'm basically going to repeat this step, focusing more and more on areas that I want to be darker and darker. So right now on the second pass, I'm gonna focus more on these areas right here with the ridges. Okay, this part right here. underneath the raised areas, places that are more likely to catch a lot of grime and dust and dirt, right, that are not easily accessed. I'm gonna do that, and then just kind of bring this out just a little bit with a couple of strokes, really allowing the bristles of the brush to kind of give me some streaks that, if done well, you can definitely make this look like brushed metal. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start going over my gold area here and bring back a little bit more color. Really get that in there, all up in this area. Okay, a little bit more in here also, a little bit more there. Again, focusing a lot on crease areas. I'm gonna give this a couple of seconds to dry before I go back with my tissue paper. But you do see it starting to come together. I'm literally just lightly, basically just like smacking it with the paper towel. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it at all because I don't want to remove a whole lot of this that I've put down. It's safe to say, don't let it dry for too long, because then in order to get rid of it, you'll just have to like water it down again to try and get access to some of the paint that is too much in certain areas. So that's basically the techniques that we're using for this step, really, for painting this. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through the process and show you guys a little bit of when I go into the highlights. All right, so now I got me a nice kind of weathered look going on. I'm gonna go ahead and add some highlights with the rub and buff. So I'm gonna show you guys how I do this for a little bit, and then I'll fast forward through the rest. So I'm gonna grab some of this. You can put this on a brush as well. I do it on my fingers sometimes, but I'll show you both ways that you can do it. So just grab a little bit of this and kind of in the middle. All right, so away from all of the darkness that we just added, we can bring back a little bit of brightness. I'm just kind of rubbing this into our part. Very lightly, you don't need a lot of this. Sometimes I'll even like rub it somewhere else before rubbing it on the part itself. So, and then you kind of go in with your fingers and just kind of spread it in a little bit more. It's almost like buffing, right? I mean, it's called rub and buff, but you're literally buffing it in and bringing back some of these highlights inside of the part. So I'll go like right here is an area that I've been focusing on a little bit, right here. And now what that also does is now it makes the black wash that we've done just look a lot more prominent because there is this bit of silver highlight in the middle of all that wash. Alright. So just kind of dusting this on in different sections. Definitely focusing on areas that are a little bit more raised, so like right here, for example, on this little bridge here, and this raised piece here. Bring some of that back in. And literally, you're just playing around with this, you know, all the way around until you get a result that you're happy with. All right, I'm gonna keep going through this, fast forward, and I'll catch you guys at the next time. All right, now we made it to this step. We're gonna grab our full leather straps that your kit comes with, and one thing I like to do is grab some sandpaper and rough up this edge, because what we're gonna do is grab these, I'm gonna stick them in here, I'm gonna glue this to the inside. So you want this to have something for the glue that you're using, whether it be hot glue, crazy glue, gorilla glue, whatever, to bite onto, so that it's not just a shiny plastic of that piece. And then we're just gonna tab that right over, and what you guys can do is use like a piece of Velcro, like a double-sided sticky Velcro, and do that. I have some tools in the shop, so I'm gonna do snaps, like buttons, so it has like a nice attachment to it. The thing with the snap is that it needs to be custom, so I'm gonna really have to measure out the fit and make sure that the buttons land in a spot that is, you know, a proper fit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward through this process and catch you guys afterwards. And if you guys were wondering, this is what I mean by sanding it down. Let me try and focus here. So you can see this is nice and fuzzy. I've kind of grinded down the plasticky surface to more like the fabricy part of it, and that's what we're trying to do with these. And you can do this with sandpaper as well. All right, so once you have your parts sanded on the back end, grab your front end, and you're gonna go ahead and give it like a triangular tip like that, which is pretty much what she has in the movie. Obviously try to make it even. I didn't really make that one very even. Just trim off the excess. All right, there we go, more or less like that. And then your button's gonna go right there, or your Velcro's gonna go underneath. And once you've trimmed one of them to your liking, just use that same one as a guide for all of the other ones. You can put it down, trace it, or you can just hold it up to your other piece and then just use that to snip it at the exact same point. All right, just keep doing that. Okay, so I've prepped my pieces for my snaps. I'm only gonna need 2 of these. So I'm gonna insert it from the outside in. And then I'm gonna grab my hot glue or whatever glue that you decide to end up using. And drag that. Stick it right there. And the same for the other one. Stick it right there. Okay. So I also made some reinforcing discs. So anytime I put snaps through foam, especially like 5mm foam, any type of foam really, I always do like a round disc to put the piece that's gonna go into the foam on. And I'll usually do barge on here and barge on there to kind of just like reinforce it, so that as you pull and put in, it doesn't destroy the foam or enlarge the hole and make it unstable. So good little tip for you guys there. All right, so now that this is where it needs to be, everything's probably glued in place, I'm gonna figure out my attachment. So this looks like this will go right about here. Right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my arm through, okay? I'm gonna drag it over and see where it lands. Let me get comfortable, make sure that this is facing the right direction before I close it. Okay, so this looks like it ends right about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press right there. All right, as you see, my thing made an impression right here. So I know that that's where my hole is going to go for my piece. So I'm going to put my hole right here. I'm going to do the same thing for the back side. Put my hole right there. And I remember, you guys definitely don't have to go through this process with, if you're doing Velcro or something like that, you would have been done with this already. And just, you know, taking a little extra steps, a little extra detail steps. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my little reinforced pieces. I'm gonna add barge to the inside of those, fast forward through that process, and show you guys the final product. All right, so I have my pieces installed. I'm gonna go ahead and snap one, snap two, and there you have it, guys. Wonder Woman bracer done. If you made it to this point, congratulations, you're done with your piece. One thing that you can do also, I'll mention this towards the end because I'll probably end up switching to this method. Instead of gluing this directly to the foam, get a piece of elastic waistband, attach that to the waistband and glue the waistband to this. That way you have a little bit of stretch to this and it's not like super tight, so that if you flex or anything like that, it becomes a little bit more malleable. All right, so that's it for this one, guys. Hope this was useful, and if you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Try to check that as often as I can and try to reply as much as possible. All right, guys, again, this is Cass from GiveWave Studios, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.